Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku podcast. Your host, Isaac Wolf, with a special episode that I felt would be fun to do. And joining me is my good friend Anime Gaming Lift. How's it going, buddy?
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing?
Uh, my Brandon and so we were talking about after an article with how Nintendo CEO, can you what's his name again?
Well,
Now, Santara Furukawa talked about how they are open to adapt other IPs when they spoke about the upcoming Mario movie with Illumination, which luckily Mr. Sakurai himself, no, Sakurai, no, too much talk about Smash Brothers earlier, but Mr. Miyamoto has a big hands-on apparently, so there is hope for that one. But anyway, I was an idea was about doing an episode talking about what we would see as an adaptation, how approach and all that jazz with other Nintendo IPs, because they often talk about Zelda should be this, Metroid should be that. Why hasn't Nintendo done this? And since we are all about anime and all that jazz, we thought about, and they say animation, we thought, why not do this bonus episode, so to speak? And well, here we are. So, and Adam thought the idea was fun, so he wanted to join. And like I said, here we are.
yeah,
My
thanks for
que-
having me. Appreciate it.
yeah, my question is to you, Adam. Do you think it's a good idea that they want to focus on animation only, or should they do something with live action also? What's
Hmm.
your idea of their whole mentality about it?
I think for the most part, that seems like a smart idea. It depends on live action can be good, but it can be really risky. And Nintendo is not the type of company that likes to take risks. Now, we have seen that live action can work, obviously, with the newest Sonic and the newest Pokemon, Detective Pikachu. Live action potentially has the capability of working, but with Mario, it would be very hard to make that realistic. It would be a lot easier to do it through animation, which I think is smart. Now, it is possible, like with other franchises such as Metroid and Legend of Zelda, that they could do live action, and it could fit. It just depends on how they do it. But I think Nintendo is very wary because of the last time that they got burned with the Super Mario franchise, that they are trying to be careful on how they approach future filmmaking.
Yeah, and sure they have some questionable stuff when it comes to animated adaptation. Also, excuse me, princess, if you know what I mean. Uh, uh,
Gotcha.
that one is legendary, and we are planning on doing an episode on that. Me, Brandon, and hopefully game a film opportunist sometime. We just don't know when. If you want to join that, if you can, Adam, you are welcome to do so. Yeah,
Yeah,
going
just
through
keep me
the
posted.
yeah, but I'm with you because also there is another reason I would prefer them to do animation only is that there are certain IPs that I feel is only suitable for animation, and that's the likes of, for example, Kirby. Kirby would not work in a live action settings. I mean, they don't even have the closest thing you would do Lion King stuff, and even that wouldn't be quote unquote live action. I don't know. People can say whatever they want, but I wouldn't count that as a live action movie, even if it's photorealistic. And if they want to do crossovers that companies love to do, be it Metroid meets up Crash lands in whatever planet that joins with Kirby, or Captain Falco meets Fox Falco. I mean, there's a canon about F-Zero and Star Fox being in the same universe. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah, so they could do something like that, and I don't think. I think they should. That's why I think animation only would work best for them. Then again, if they do from different studios, it will be problematic to do. Problematic to do. Now I can't speak. Crossovers, also considering licensing and all that jazz, but that's the general idea for me. Another thought of mine that I would prefer anime myself, but let's start with you, Adam. I was thinking that we should do a round robin style and go through 5 animes that, let's say 5 IPs that we want them to adapt. And do you have any idea? If you have, do you want it to be a movie series, anime series, as in seasonal, like every other big anime, or and do you have any specific studio in mind, be it Western or Eastern?
That's a good question. Right off the bat, yeah.
Link if you don't can't recall names on studios. I have a article for you to get me some reference on studios.
Got you. Yeah, there's definitely some things that I think have potential to be great series. Trying to think of. I'm not familiar with the name of the. I'm not familiar with the name of the animation studio at the top of my head. But I think whoever did Castlevania, the Castlevania series on Netflix, would be perfect to do a Legend of Zelda anime series. We've briefly seen.
You're talking about Powerhouse Animation Studios.
There you go. So, yes. We've briefly seen what a Zelda anime can look like when they did I think it was a reveal trailer for Palutena and Smash. They did an anime scene of Link fighting Pit, and it looked amazing. And so we know that in terms of I think that Zelda, more than anything, benefits from having a series instead of a movie, because there's so much lore to Zelda. So I think that Zelda would fit as an anime series, would fit really well. It could potentially fit as a live action as well, but I think as an anime series is where it fits best. And so the company that does, you said Powerhouse, that does Castlevania, I think if they were to take the reins of a Legend of Zelda anime series, would actually be really amazing to see. It'd be really cool. They could do all the different Zelda timelines. It just depends on what exactly they wanted to cover. But that would be really cool. So you said 5, right? So
yeah,
that would be my first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would. Go
ahead. Have you seen that animated trailer pitch that Animation Studios did as a pitch for an animated Legend of Zelda movie? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it. I haven't.
There we go.
Yeah, you can go ahead and send that. Oh, there we go. I think this is it. Oh. Let me see this.
But yeah,
So this one's more of like a 3D anime.
yeah,
This could work too. I'll be really honest with you. I'm not a big fan of 3D animes. Like like you to me, which series would actually work it from a 3D anime better? Is Metroid.
yeah.
I think Metroid would a 3D anime for Metroid actually would work really well because you kind of have to have like that visual spacing, and it kind of fits that look for like a space kind of series. Like you could do a regular anime for Metroid as well, but to me, a 3D anime like the one that you're showing me works best for Metroid.
And
And
I have
again,
to
I think
admit,
Metroid. Go ahead.
this I don't. This art style is, yeah,
Yeah, to me, see, Legend of Zelda because of the way that it looks aesthetically, right? To me, it fits more of like a flat 2D anime looking style, like how the Castlevania series is, right? The way that they did that one. Versus if you did like a 3D animation, it could look a little weird, you know? I mean, it's again potentially who you're getting. So maybe it could look amazing. Me personally, I would rather see a Metroid 3D animation and a 2D animation for Legend of Zelda. That's me personally. Again, the
for
same thing for
people
Zelda.
wondering,
Go ahead.
this is this is the look of the animated pitch. I don't want to
Right.
show you the entire trailer for the risk of getting copyright strike for the reason, but showing a still image shouldn't be that much of a problem.
Yeah. See, to me again, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think that it fits. Personally, I think that an anime style look to The Legend of Zelda looks so much better. I mean, all we have to do is look at Palutena's reveal trailer and see how Link looks there. He looks amazing. And if you were to give me an anime where Link looks like that the entire time, it would look amazing, right?
Yeah.
It would look, it has so much potential to look really good, especially with the shades of colors that you see in The Legend of Zelda, because The Legend of Zelda has very picturesque looking backgrounds. It could look really great. Metroid, to me, on the other hand, that would fit. That would fit how it looks. You to see Samus looking like that, that could work. But yes, to answer your question, for the second series, I would say that Metroid should have like a 3D anime.
Before we
I
go to
guess you could. It doesn't
Metroid,
have to be anime though.
before we
Hmm?
go to Metroid, I have a
Hmm.
big question that is related to Legend of Zelda. That is a debate
Sure.
in and of itself. Would Link talk if it was us up to you or not? As in,
No,
okay,
no, he should stay silent. Yeah.
because
That's the big part of him. It's kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen the. I mean, if he does, no, I take it back. No, he shouldn't. And it's because that's the big thing about Link is that he doesn't talk, right? He's a very silent protagonist. He talks through like his grunts and like he's famous for his like noises like that. Like he's famous for kind of little short gasps and stuff like that. In the Halo live action series, they kind of kept Master Chief like Master Chief. Master Chief, no, in the games he does talk, but he talks very little. And so in the show that they did of him, Master Chief stays the same. He talks but very little. He answers like in one word answers or two word answers. And to me, that's the exact same way that Link should stay, is that he's kind of mute for the majority of it. It's because
I
you're
mean,
kind of breaking that suspense of disbelief when you change the way that a character is. Best example for that is in the newest G.I. Joe movie, which is for Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is famous for never talking. He doesn't talk at all. And in that movie, he's always talking. And it really breaks you out of that world because you can't associate the character to the same thing. You know that Snake Eyes is famous for not talking, and yet in the movie he talks all the time. And it's kind of the same thing with Link. He's a character that's famous for not talking. Now the other characters around him can talk, like Zelda and whoever else they put in there, Impa. But to me, if you have Link talking the entire time, you're going to get that whole feeling that he had with the "excuse me, princess." You're going to get that exact same kind of feeling.
I mean, have you read the Legend of Zelda mangas?
I have not. No.
In those mangas, Link legit talks, and those are some of the most. Those are heavily praised as really good adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
And people that read them doesn't question him talking.
Yeah, but that's because in a manga you can't hear it, right? In a manga you're reading for it. Now, when it's translated to an anime, it's so different, you know? In an anime, you're hearing the person talking. It's no longer like a silent thing. You're hearing that person converse and talk, and I don't know. I just don't think it would translate very well. To me personally, I don't think Link talking in a series would, and he doesn't need to. That's the other big thing, is that the other characters can kind of talk for him, you know? Or if he does talk, let's just say that he does. He should talk very little. Um, and that's just, again, because you're breaking that associate association that people have with Link, which is that he's a silent protagonist. Now, if he was not known for that, like if he was like Master Chief or even Samus, who occasionally talk here and there, then it wouldn't be that much of a problem. But Link is known for being a silent protagonist, and when you kind of break that out of the character, what the character is known for, it it kind of it kind of ruins who that character is. Again, I go back to the newest version of that, which is in the GI Joe Snake Eyes. He's constantly talking throughout the entire movie, and it just really it makes you feel like it's not the same character. Like they're two different characters. There's the character that talks and the character that doesn't talk. And it's because typically characters who don't talk have kind of like a different vibe to them. They're very mysterious, right? They you don't know what they're saying, so you kind of have to pick up on additional details in order to understand what they mean. And when you kind of get rid of that, when he's just kind of talking, it kind of gets rid of that mysteriousness, the mysterious aspect that they have to them, which I think is a big part of Link. Link has that mysterious quality that he doesn't talk, right? So other people kind of have to guess what he means. And just kind of like in Breath of the Wild, where like Link doesn't talk, so Zelda kind of like talks for him. And so to me, that's the way they should keep it. I personally, if he's gonna talk, he talks very little, but he should stand by what he's known for, which is a very quiet character.
Yeah, if you for those that wonder, I'm someone that collects the mangas, and I have to say that they make a fantastic job of making Link a legit character. Actually, he has his own personality in every adaptation of the diverse game. He's not the same. They make him their own and all that jazz, and specifically in the Twilight Princess adaptation that's going on right now, it's a damn near masterpiece so far, and I can highly recommend people watch to read it. I don't know if it's on the Wiz app or not, considering it's Wiz that publishing them, but just look out for them in your where you can buy mangas, because I can highly recommend them.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, no, for sure. It's just it's a difference of opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, potentially he has the potential to be a great character that can talk. Just to me, that breaks that suspension of disbelief. Um, just if I had a movie or a game series where Master Chief is talking the entire time, I don't know. For me, it wouldn't be Master Chief anymore, because that's what he's known as. He's the strong, silent character. And to me, like again, Link is kind of like on there that same thing. Is he's a more of a mute character in this case. He's not like silent. He's just mute. And to me, like if you it could go wrong very fast if you have a character that is known for not talking and all of a sudden they're talking all the time. It could get bad. It can go wrong if it's not handled correctly.
yeah. Okay. I was just figuring that was an important part to include when it comes to Legend of Zelda Zelda series. Well, because it's an instant debate of should Link talk, should he not talk, and as someone that reads the manga, I have to say that I wouldn't mind seeing him talk, honestly, because it's sort of like, do you hope? What are your opinion about Mario talking or not in the upcoming Super Mario Bros. Movie? If he sidetracks a bit,
But
talking about
Mario's known for talking, though. That's the bigger difference. Is that Mario is not a mute character. He's known for
yeah,
talking.
yeah, but
He talks in
he's
all his
known
games.
for talking
Yeah,
gibberish.
I mean he is, but he has like Mario has literally done like sentences in like his game series. Like it's not like a word or two words. Like he legitimately talks. So that's
Yeah,
a big difference between the two. In most of the mainline games, Link does not talk. And if he does, it's like a word, and that's the biggest thing to me is like, again, if you take that away from a character, Mario, it doesn't really feel weird because Mario is known for talking. The reason he doesn't tend to talk a lot is because you're the one that's playing him, right? But in the majority of his games, he does talk, and sometimes he has like a full
yeah.
sentence that he tells you.
I I see what you mean. Let's just hope that.
Like the whole he does his whole so long Bowser when he throws Bowser, and that was in
Yeah,
Mario 64. So he
let's
does talk. It's yeah.
let's just hope that Universal Studios is smart enough to have Charles Martinet as the voice of Mario. But then again, if
Oh
Miyamoto
yeah,
is
they have to
has
bring him back because if they bring someone with a very weak accent, it's gonna ruin it very quickly. If they do a big A-list celebrity that is the voice of that character instead of Charles Martinet, which unfortunately I'm afraid might happen, it could get wrong very quickly. Like for example, in the Sonic movie, they didn't bring back Roger Craig Smith; they brought someone else in.
yeah, but they hadn't. This time we have Shigeru Miyamoto heavily involved in the movie. So
Yeah. In that case, then hopefully it means that Charles Martinet stays the same. Same thing if Luigi's involved, Charles Martinet is also the one that's voicing it. That I'm hoping that that's the way it stays, so that way you're guaranteed to have a better movie. But unfortunately, yeah, that's a big thing that Hollywood can do a lot of times is that they want A-list celebrities to voice the characters because they want you to know, like, hey, I don't know, Danny DeVito is voicing Mario.
yeah,
They want you to know that a big A-list celebrity is the one that's voicing. Like that's what they did with Space Jam, right? They replaced the voice of Lola Bunny with Zendaya.
yeah. But I argue that Martinez as Mario is no offense to the one that originally voiced Lola Bunny, but I argue that him as Mario is like.
Oh yeah, he's a much bigger character for sure. But unfortunately, that's just me saying that Hollywood has a repeated behavior of they want to change things because it fits their vision.
Yeah,
So
but
it's possible that they could change Mario's voice to some big A-list celebrity, just so that you know, like, hey, he voices Mario and he's in this movie.
Yeah, it's just like he is much more synonymous as Super Mario than Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man or Christopher Reeve as Superman. He is much more integrated as the character than those actors are
right
with their role, because, well, he is the voice, and he has always been the voice since '64.
Yeah, but like I said, it just depends. The good thing is that Nintendo tends to be more faithful to their adaptations than Sega is. Personally, to me, no offense to the guy that voiced Sonic in the movie, I think he did a great job. Yeah, he did a great job, but it should have stayed as Roger Craig Smith. Roger Craig Smith should have been the one that was voicing Sonic the entire time, because he is Sonic. You know, now he hasn't always been the voice of Sonic, but he's the most, in terms of voice actors that have voiced Sonic, he's usually the one that's the most remembered. And to me, like, they swapped him out with a big celebrity, which he did a good job, and there was nothing wrong with it. But I don't see why they did that. They should have just brought Roger Craig Smith in to do the lines.
Honestly, I think it would be a serious backlash if Martinet isn't the voice. So
let's hope so. Let's hope that Nintendo's influence on this kind of reels in DreamWorks and Illumination in to make them realize, like, hey, you shouldn't do that. Hoping. But at the same time, if he does get replaced with some big celebrity, I won't be surprised.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a long tangent about people talking, unless a specific character talking in a video game adaptation or not. But
it's all good. Yeah, no. So going back to your original question is, who do I see as the second? Yeah, well, like I said, Metroid. Metroid as a 3D animation. It doesn't have to be anime. It could just be 3D animation. A 3D animation series works really well for Metroid. Now, I definitely could see Samus talking. Now, I know that there was like some backlash to Samus talking, I think was it Other M or something like that? The one where she's constantly talking about the baby. And I think that's just because the way that they handled Samus communicating was done poorly. I think that if they kept Samus communicating in short bursts, not where she's constantly talking, giving exposition, but she gives it in short bursts. She talks here and there, but very little communication, not a ton. It could be done very well. Yeah, personally, and if I had to say so, and who should voice Samus, I think it should be Laura Bailey. Laura Bailey, I think, would fit Samus perfectly.
Yeah. What studio do you want to? Would you want to handle Metroid series then?
Huh. I don't know, because I tend to not be a big fan of 3D animation. Because it would have to be done really well and not in a very kind of like, what about because I think that the way that Samus is can kind of fit like a Western studio could technically fit the roles of this. So personally, to me, if I had to choose, I don't know if this is the right choice. I want to be clear on this, but yeah, whoever is doing the current Transformers 3D animation that's on Netflix right now, I think they would work. I think it's Toei Animation.
Is it Toei Animation? Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's Toei Animation. They should do it. Because the new current 3D animation for Transformers, the TV show, actually looks pretty good. They would just need to make it a little bit more darker, a little bit more grittier to fit the Metroid kind of look. But I think that they're, in terms of 3D animation, they did a pretty good job, and they kind of have that already look for kind of robot cyborg kind of look. They're familiar with how it looks, that kind of like armored look. They're used to doing animation like that. So I
Apparently,
think that
it's Polygon Pictures that did those.
Oh, okay. Well,
And it
whoever's
was
currently doing it,
and
I think they would work.
it was Rooster Teeth was behind it.
Huh. Well, Rooster Teeth is known for doing good stuff. So yeah, there you go. There you go. I mean, they've got some good projects that they've done with a 3D animation. I know this isn't like the best example, but the whole Red versus Blue and how they do the animation models. They've done some, and then if they're the ones that are doing Transformers, then they've been doing a good job. I just think that they would need further guidance. They would have to work very closely with Nintendo to get that feel of Metroid, because it would have to be darker. The whole purpose, like Ridley, I've never really noticed how much of a villain he is until I started looking up how things about him. And he's done some really messed up stuff.
Yeah.
He's done some really messed up stuff, like like killed Samus's parents in front of her and stuff. Like it has to go into a darker feel for Metroid, and so it can't be this light, cheery series. I mean, it can be in parts, but for the most part, it's got to be a darker series. And so they would have to work with Nintendo very closely. But yeah, like I said, that animation studio with for 3D animation, Laura Bailey as the voice of Samus, I think would work.
As long as it's not Captain N, Samus Aran, who's so fanatically in love with Captain N that she is almost I wouldn't call Yandere or Sundra, but she is rather fanatic. I want Captain N style character, and it just that is so out of character for her.
Yeah, no, see, to me, like the reason that I thought of Laura Bailey is because I don't know if you've ever played Skyrim, but
I have played Skyrim, but not that much.
Okay, well, Laura Bailey voices a character in the expansion, the Dawnguard expansion. She voices Serana, which is a vampire, and Serana kind of fits that kind of mold. She's kind of stoic. She communicates, but very briefly. And to me, that kind of, if you can translate that over to Samus, you're perfect. You got a perfect kind of one-to-one example of how Samus should be. Kind of like Serana from Skyrim, which is that she does communicate, but very rarely, and in a very kind of stoic voice, not very emotional. It's kind of very kind of, no, I wouldn't say monotone, but it's just kind of very non-emotional kind of voice. To me, would fit Samus's character very well. And Laura Bailey is a seasoned voice actress, so she knows what areas to hit, how to approach a character. So to me, yeah, bringing her in to voice Samus, I don't think you can go very wrong with that.
I mean, she has already worked with Nintendo to some degree, even though they recast her with Alexis Tipton, I think name was.
Is she the voice of Lucina, Laura Bailey?
Laura Bailey is the original voice actress for Lucina, but then they recasted her for whatever reason in Fire Emblem Heroes and Fire Emblem Warriors with Alexis Tipton, and no one really know why.
I think it's because Laura Bailey was a union voice actor, and Nintendo doesn't like to work with it.
Alexis Tipton is union, as far as I know.
Okay, then in that case, I don't know. Maybe Laura Bailey wanted more money. I don't know. I don't want to speak for her. I honestly don't.
But then again, also what makes it even weirder is that they reuse her voice lines in Ultimate and not have Alexis recording them for. This,
They must have had some sort of reason to do what they did, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. But going back to this, I definitely think she could voice Samus really well. Honestly, if they do Metroid Prime for when they do it, they should honestly bring in Laura Bailey to do Samus there too. Um, I just think that she fits that mold of how Samus should talk very well. But that's me personally.
yeah.
But yeah, that would be my second choice though for Metroid. I don't think Metroid could work as a movie. It could. I don't know if it would draw in large crowds. You know, Metroid is kind of that forgotten. Unfortunately, doesn't get a lot of attention from Nintendo. You know,
Until
and
now, because they have.
until now, but even then, it's kind of been put on a shelf. And to me, I don't know if it would draw in large crowds to go see a Metroid movie. It would depend on how it looks. If it was very well done, it has the potential. But then again, it would have to be a darker movie, and I don't know if Nintendo's willing to go there. I think they would be willing to go there with a series, but not a movie.
Yeah.
And so that to me is why Metroid should stay as a series. Plus, it's got so much lore to it that to me it fits better as a series. So they're not trying to cram everything into a movie, So to me personally, that would work very well. A third series. Well, they've already done Pokemon, so I can't really say that.
I can say some of my picks.
Go for it. Yeah. Give me.
Well, I can to go back on Legend of Zelda. I would do this. Have it animated also from Eastern Studio, but I wouldn't have it be Powerhouse. I would have it be what essentially is Pixar's Eastern's answer to Pixar, namely Studio Ghibli. Honestly, and potentially do if you do a movie, you can do a 3-part movie series of Ocarina of Time, or you can do a 3-part movie series of the more I should change it. If we talk about the more darker games like Twilight Princess, then I'm totally with you about the likes of Powerhouse Studios. But if we go in the more lighter, in quotation mark, like Ocarina of Time, sure, it's dark to some degree, but I would like to see them do some Legend of Zelda, because I think their art style would work great for it. There is, but maybe it's me as a Ghibli fan. I'm an extremely big Ghibli fan, so I'm a little bit biased. But let me show you. There was someone that made a poster, Breath of the Wild fan poster in the style of Ghibli. Just give me 1 second. And I think it's just gorgeous. And I'm just looking at it, and I just feel, maybe not Breath of the Wild, but just that art style I feel fits Legend of Zelda movie, personally.
It could fit very well.
And now we come to the more obvious one that you're probably gonna laugh at, but it's pretty clear that I want to. I think anyone that's listening to this and know me would be surprised if I didn't put it on. But I would like to see Fire Emblem being getting animated series.
Yeah, that would be great.
I think they are. Maybe not every game would work. Like, for example, Fire Emblem Three Houses wouldn't work, because then you we all have the problem on which route is canon, which all that jazz. Are we going to do an adaptation per route, or are we? And that would essentially be, what is it? Four routes, five if you want to adapt the DLC story on top of it all, and then and all that jazz. And while some of my favorite characters is from Awakening, well, if you follow me on Twitter, you know exactly who those are. I still wouldn't like it because we all have that problem of. I wouldn't have a problem with it myself, but a certain community would go rage if it didn't end like they would. So I would rather have it something like another attempt at Shadow Dragon with Marth, because, so to speak, instead of the whole but Marth, that failed attempt that only had, what was it, 2 episodes, and or maybe have Sacred Stones, or only do Fire Emblem 7 with Lynn, Hector, and Elowood, so to speak, and something like that. I would like to see Fire Emblem getting added. I'm not so sure about the Tellius game would be insanely good also, because there are certain imagine certain cuts. Have you played the Tellius game?
I have not. No.
There are certain. I forgot to put that down. There are certain chapters in, or certain missions in those games that would be Lord of the Ring level of epicness if you adapt them right, in terms of scale and magnitude and all that jazz. And the politics that they could cover in the Tellius is sort of like very Game of the Thrones-esque style. Then again, I would argue that you could say that every game could be rather inspired by Game of Thrones in terms of politics, with that country is not going that well with this country and all that. Yes, if you have played a Fire Emblem game, you know exactly. For example, in the start of Awakening, you get to know that the land that you up as a tactician is at war with a neighbor's country, because their former Exalt, that is Crumbs. If you have played Fire Emblem, it was a Super Smash Brothers, you know who that is. Father was a tyrant that loved war, and the neighbor country hates their country because of their former Exalt and all that jazz. So, like I said, Game of Thrones style, like
yeah, that could work.
When it comes to studio, I would argue, what's the name of the studio that make what's the name of that studio that made I would say either what's the studio that made that series? I would say either Wit Studios, that has worked with Attack on Titans, which in terms or Ufotable, which has made God Eater, Demon Slayer, and Fate Zero. I would argue would fit the best for an anime adaptation of Fire Emblem, because
that could work.
Because they are some of the darker series, and maybe they don't need to go Attack on Titan dark in terms of tone, but it should be a dark series no matter what game you adapt. especially if you adapt Tellius game, considering there's without spoiling too much, they go very much into racial social commentary about racism and all that. Yes, and they are very. If you adapt it properly, it would be very dark and brutal. If I on that regard, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah. So, just I could see where your thought process is. Any other games, series, and studios?
I was gonna ask if you have if you had figured something else that you want to get adapted.
I did. So I was thinking. At first, I thought Xenoblade, but the thing about Xenoblade is it's very much in its own universe. It's excluding the one that was released for the Wii U, but that one's kind of like doing its own thing. But Xenoblade 1 and 2 are connected in a very loose way, but they are connected. You could technically do an origin story for Xenoblade, but you wouldn't really get much there, because what it is there was a war over the planets, and then they kind of did like a Gundam style, where they kind of created a new universe, and that's how everything kind of became the way that it was. I feel like the story of Xenoblade should very much stay within the video game structure. I could be wrong about that.
I mean,
so
it screams Shonen Jump, a shonen anime, I dare argue.
I mean, it could, like I said, it's just, I think that I agree. Fire Emblem, because you don't have to follow a specific structure, just like The Legend of Zelda. The Legend of Zelda, if they were to do a series, they wouldn't have to do it like, this is specifically telling the story of Twilight Princess. This is specifically telling the story of Skyward Sword. This is specifically telling whatever, because there's been so many Links and Zeldas and Ganondorfs. They could technically create an entire new story, which could be really interesting if you think about it, because then you wouldn't be able to predict what's going to happen. And to me, that would be a good thing about Fire Emblem, is that they don't actually have to make a Fire Emblem series about any of the existing games. They could technically create a new protagonist and a new everything for Fire Emblem, and it would be exclusive to this series. These would be new characters that they came up with, or they could do a whole new thing, and this could be like the prologue. This anime could be the prologue to the newest Fire Emblem game. That could actually really work too. So it just depends. But to me personally, yeah, I agree. I think Fire Emblem has more potential to be a better series. And so what I chose was Fire Emblem. But in my case, I thought that Studio Pierrot should do it. And they are the ones that do Naruto and Bleach and other big animation series. I think they actually could do it really well. They've done very well with the Naruto Shippuden series and other Bleach and other big series. So I think that they could give it that more grounded feel that Fire Emblem tends to have, which is not such a lighthearted feel. Fire Emblem can get really dark at times.
Yeah, I know.
And so, yeah. I mean, like, especially like in the newest one where you befriend students and then you have to kill them. It can get dark, and so I think
not to mention the Fire Genoli of Holy War, which, oh boy, that one is dark.
I don't know, but I do think that I mean, because they tend to kind of make a balance. Studio tends to make a balance between lighthearted and dark. And I think that fits Fire Emblem really well. I think that they would be able to handle the Fire Emblem series, me personally, I think that if they were to make a new series for Fire Emblem, it should be new characters. It shouldn't be on, any existing characters. I think it should be new ones. And they could do that one or two ways. Either this is characters that are exclusive to the anime, or they are leading up to the newest Fire Emblem game. This is like a prologue for the newest Fire Emblem game. It's an anime that tells the stories of events leading up to the, and it doesn't even have to include the main characters. It could be like their ancestors or their parents or something like that, and you briefly see the main characters that are going to be in the newest Fire Emblem. But this kind of gives you like a little backstory to them.
That could work.
Yeah, like to me, like me personally, like so Final Fantasy 15 is my favorite Final Fantasy, and they have a whole backstory on how the world got created. And this is like way before Noctis came in the picture, everyone else came in the picture, and I'm like, man, I really wish that there was a series that talked about that, like the war with the Astrals, how they fought each other, how they betrayed each other. That would have been so cool. Like, it doesn't directly involve Noctis himself, but it's leading up to his story, right? Like, these are like his ancestors. And to me, they could do that with Fire Emblem, which is like, let's say that they don't want to create completely new characters. They don't want it to be completely not doing with any video game that they're going to do. So this could be, without giving too many spoilers for the new game, they could just say like, this is the prologue for the newest Fire Emblem game. This takes place centuries before, and it's setting up for how the current state of affairs are in the newest Fire Emblem. People would watch that,
Sort of
that
like
would actually be really cool.
Sort of like you mean you see what you see at the beginning, the whole before the game starts, the prologue.
Yeah, something like that, but more in depth, right? So these characters might not be in the new Fire Emblem. They might not be in there because they probably have died by this time. But they're setting up for the events of how this game works, right? They're setting up the backstory. They're setting up the stage, the setting, right? To me, that actually could work really well. And to me, that would be even great marketing for Nintendo, because you're saying like, hey, this is going to give you a sneak peek at what the newest Fire Emblem is going to be like. This is going to be like a brief sliver of story of what the new story for the newest Fire Emblem is going to be like. And so you're sitting there watching, but you're not really getting spoiled on anything, because the characters themselves, the main characters, are barely going to be in it, or if at all. They might be mentioned like at the end. But to me, that would be really cool. You're setting up a lot of backstory, because to me, that's honestly one of the biggest things about Fire Emblem, was that I wish there was more lore. Like they have this rich lore in the background, and you have no idea like what happened, right? So like even like with the Fire Emblem Three Houses, there's this whole story, right? Without talking spoilers. The beginning sets up like that when you first get introduced to Fire Emblem Three Houses, they have that whole opening prologue, right? And even before that opening prologue, there's a whole story there, and you get hints about what happened throughout the story, but you don't really know what happened. And to me, that taught through an anime, like shown through an anime, could be really cool. Like it could be really cool to set up that background exposition, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why the Fire Emblem is arguably the most fanfic adapted franchise that Nintendo has, as far as I know.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else before I can mention a new one?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I think this is just maybe this is a bit not out of the box, but we talk about the Legend of Zelda and when Zelda fought Pit. it was a brain freeze when Link fought Pit in the Latina reveal trailer. Me personally, I would like to see a Kid Icarus anime that is a bit more comedic, lighthearted with some darker tone. And the obvious studio for me would be Toei Animation. I mean, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Digimon. Just if you really think about it from those IPs, they are it's like their bread and butter in sort of in terms of how the style of storytelling that Kid Icarus is, especially Dragon Ball and One Piece to some extent, considering we have a goofball that is not so smart and going against the big powers that should be overpower them, but through hard work and friends and all that, yes, they managed to take them down. I mean, that's Toei Animation's handbook in a nutshell.
Right. No, exactly. So that's yeah, I could see that. I could see that for Kid Icarus. That could be a good one. I hadn't actually thought of that one. That'd be a
there is
Toei Animation. Pretty interesting.
There is, if I'm not mistaken, there is some mini clips that they made, sort of with Kid Icarus that they did. I think it was 3D animated. That was quite funny, although I don't think it was. Oh, yes, Kid Icarus anime shorts. It was. All of them are around 18 minutes long. It's I don't know what it's from Studio 4 Celsius or whatever they call it, and it's from several studios, by Studio Shaft, Production IG, and Studio 4C that made those. I linked them in the private chat. So it's but it just I mean, it's just and also this is a weird one, I know, but before I mention it, we all know that survival horror stories, you can do that with just one or two characters as the character. Well, I would do Pikmin actually. And I'm unsure on what studio, but if this is going over five IPs, but whatever, we can just split balls how long you want to. If it wasn't for the second season of Promised Neverland and how Clover Wonder Egg Priority ended, I would have said Cloverworks for it, because they made especially the Promised Neverland, they made their first season of Promised Neverland is excellent, and they managed to just put the tone of dread and all that jazz and the need. Have you seen that series? Have you seen /Red Promised Neverland?
Yeah, I've seen the first season. I haven't seen the second one.
Don't even bother with the second season. If you want to continue it, read the manga. The second season is horrible, and they literally end with a slideshow of and yes, hey, here is arcs that we just totally skipped over for whatever reason. And but if would I but the more I think about it, it would probably what's that name of the studio? PA Works, which is known for stuff like Another and all that jazz.
Mhm.
You need to make it sort of like, sure, it needs to look a bit goofy and all that jazz, but Pikmin is, when you really think about it, a pretty dark game. You need to have more
Mhm.
horror-esque elements to it, which
Right.
and those behind Another, I argue, fits that fits that.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. I can see where your where your thought process is. I can definitely see how it would fit. Hmm.
Have
Yeah,
you
no, definitely.
thought of anyone anymore?
Um, so my last one, uh, it was a tie between Donkey Kong and Luigi's Mansion, and
Oh, Luigi's
to me,
Mansion
they
would be
could do.
perfect.
Yeah, see, to me, I thought Luigi's Mansion works better, and see, Donkey Kong could work, but it would be, to me, it would be like another animation movie, right, where they bring the characters to the real world and yada yada. They somehow are trying to find a way back to their old world. To me, that could just not work very well in terms of live action. It would just be another live action movie where they brought 3D characters into the real world, right?
It could, I
To
mean, it
me,
can't be.
Luigi's Mansion works better.
I mean, it can't be worse than that 3D animated monstrosity that was given to Donkey Kong. It That series
I
is all on
mean,
YouTube if you want to watch it, but I recommend you guys not to because it's horrible, both in quality
I
and
don't know.
writing.
I probably won't watch it, but yeah, to me, Luigi's Mansion just works better, and that works if they do live action or if they just do it only animation. It works good both ways because it's got that setting that can kind of fit both ways. You know, um, personally, to me, I would prefer it to be only animation, not live action. And what I mean by live action is that you do a mixture between animation and live action, like they have been doing lately. But yeah, to me, I think all animation works best for Luigi's Mansion. And I think that actually could be really cool. Like, Luigi walking around with the ghosts and him being all scared. And it could be like little mini jump scares because it's obviously a kids movie. They can't go too crazy with it. But yeah, I think Luigi's Mansion, also by Illumination Studios, would work really well.
I honestly thought about Pixar when I thought about it. It was this isn't on my list, but for some reason I think Pixar when I think Luigi's Mansion. But
Yeah,
yeah, this
Pixar could work. I think it's just that Nintendo has a very good relationship with Universal.
yeah.
So I think they should just probably stay with them in terms of doing animation.
And yes, what you see
That's
on screen is that Donkey Kong 3D animated the TV
Oh my god.
series, and yes, it's
No,
official. It's
that's
not a fan made thing.
no, that looks awful in so many ways. Yeah, no, but I think Luigi's Mansion could work really well, and I think if Illumination takes the helm of it, they could do a good job with Luigi's Mansion. They could do. I don't know exactly how they would make it, but it's a Mario character. Mario tends to sell very well, and Luigi's Mansion has a story that could kind of write itself. You know,
It
they
actually,
could potentially do live action slash animation together, where it's like some. I don't know, some family stays in some sort of hotel, right? And then they have like the ghosts from Luigi's mansion come and they're freaking everyone out, and then Luigi shows up and he's trying to like save everyone. They could go that route. They could. I don't know if they should though. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that preferably I think all animation would be best, but it has the potential to be that it could do both. It could do like animation slash live action like they did for Detective Pikachu. They could
Mm.
potentially do it that way. They could. They could do it. Like I said, it's a some family. You get some really famous actors to play that family. They're staying in some sort of mansion, and there's ghosts and everywhere, and they start freaking out. They find the number and they call it. They don't know who they're calling, and Luigi shows up. You know, that could it could potentially work. I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly how you would do it, but it has the potential to work for both. But I think it would work best as an animation only.
Yeah. And yeah. And before I go to my last, I need to ask you one thing. Have you watched Fully Cooley?
Have I watched which one?
Fully Cooley.
I have not. No.
Have you watched Gurren Lagann?
Yes.
Does the name Gainax tell you anything? It's the same company that made Neon Genesis Evangelion also.
Hmm.
And for what I'm on, haven't you watched Neon Genesis Evangelion?
I watched a few episodes.
But yeah, that. But well, with how insane Gurren Lagann is, and particularly Fully Cooley, it's on Crunchyroll or who. I think it's on. There are 3 seasons. I think they are split between Crunchyroll and Hulu, and those for the first series is first, with the exception for the first series here in Europe at least. Then you have to look it up on YouTube to watch it, and it's
Hmm.
a pretty insane show, so to speak. Our good friend Mike Thomas, that's with me and covering My Hero
Hmm.
uh, weekly, and I'll did a reaction episode of the first episode, and he is going to do this as a series. He said that it was one of the most insane series he has ever started. But anyway, the reason I mentioned those two is I think they would be a perfect choice for a WarioWare series.
Huh.
Bec-
Well,
bec-
then that could,
uh,
yeah, that could work.
because WarioWare isn't exactly a sane series, and you can have the storyline about Wario seeing how game industry is getting bigger and bigger, and he wants the money, and he tries to program games but fails. So he tries to employ people and all that jazz, and it's all going problematic, and the games only work for a second when they try to test them, and sometimes you can have it sort of like a series even, so anthology series, sort of like I don't know what some example you can do you know The Disastrous Life of Psyche K? It's not by Gainax though, but that's an anthology series about a guy, or even better, uh, My Ordinary Ninjutsu. I'm probably botched that by My Ordinary Life. That's just an anthology about some girls living a quote unquote an ordinary life, but it is far from normal. that contains everything from bazookas, dogs that bite someone, and it hurts so much that they shoot laser from the mouth, and airships that cause way too much damage than it should do, and all that jazz. But I think WarioWare would be a perfect anthology series, so to speak.
Yeah, I could see that working. I could potentially have. The thing about with all of these animation studios and things that we're listing is that they all have the potential to work, right? Will Nintendo do it? That's the question. You know,
If the Mario movie is successful, I could see them doing more.
I don't see, unfortunately, the Nintendo tends to be very careful on how they do things. And to them, doing animation movie for Mario is very risky for them. I'm actually very surprised that they're doing it. I think it's because they saw the success of Detective Pikachu, and they said, okay, let's keep this ball rolling. You know,
apparently it was because Shigeru Miyamoto felt comfortable enough to let's give it another shot. Actually,
okay,
it was Miyamoto himself that pushed it for it.
Well, there you go. But to me, the thing is that unfortunately, Nintendo doesn't tend to lend out their series too much when it comes to like animations and you know animes and stuff like that. Although they should, they haven't really had a reputation for doing that. Like I said, you could list a lot of projects: Star Fox, Kirby. You know, that I mean the Kirby cartoon show, Right Back at You, was actually really well done. I thought it was a great show.
If I'm not mistaken,
so,
the writer for it is Masahiro Sakurai.
Oh, I don't know, but it was a really well done show, you know. And so the thing is that there's a lot of different things that you could do, not do. It has the potential to work. It's just up to Nintendo themselves. They have so many franchises that they could potentially make series or movies or you know whatever. Even some that they're not really paying attention to, you know, like Golden Sun and other ones could potentially make for very good television series. You know, if they're not going to make video games for them, then maybe they should at least make like cartoons for them. You know,
Yeah.
But the thing about it at the end of the day is that there's a lot of stuff that you could do. You could choose a lot of animation studios. It's just up to Nintendo themselves if they're going to do it.
I stand by. I think, like I said, I think it all depends on how the Mario movie is going to doing. If that movie flops, we are not going to see any other adaptation of something Nintendo related.
Yeah, you know, there's like I said, there's potential to do things. It's just it's up to Nintendo uh if they want to. And it's up to them if they're willing to, if they see the profit in it. I personally think that they could. Like I said, all the different things that we've listed have the potential to do really well. I'm sure Nintendo fans would love all the stuff that we're mentioning. It's just Nintendo tends to be a very cautious company. They don't tend to lend out their IPs unless it's to someone that they trust. Now Nintendo recently has been getting better. They've lended out, you know, Star Fox to Ubisoft, and they lended out Mario characters also to Ubisoft. They even lended out Legend of Zelda to a very, you know, niche series like Crypt of the Nectar Dancer. So it's not impossible.
That's the most surprising in my book.
Yeah, you know, it's not impossible, but Nintendo seems to be very wary of lending out their IPs to third parties.
But
You know, So it is possible that we will see more animations as Nintendo feels more comfortable as they start, depending on how well the Super Mario Bros. Animation movie goes. Like I said, it can go really well. It can go not so great. And so it's just one of those things that now the good thing is that Miyamoto and Nintendo are working closely with the studio. So it has more of a potential to be a well done movie versus a Hollywood version of Mario Bros. Right?
Yeah,
But like I said, it just depends if Nintendo feels more comfortable. I think that a lot of these projects that we're talking about, realistically, if I were to give them a timeline of like when Nintendo might greenlight them, we might not see a lot of these for another 3 to 4 years. And
yeah,
that's just because Nintendo is slowly warming up to the idea of lending out their IPs not just to game studios, but to animation studios and you know other filming groups, like film studios. Nintendo has kept their IPs away from Hollywood for many years, ever since they got burned with the Super Mario movie
yeah.
and the Legend of Zelda old school animation series. They've
I
been
mean,
very cautious to lend out their stuff. Now, obviously, that's not always true, like you said with the new Donkey Kong one that you showed me, but
uh,
they for the most part, Nintendo has been very cautious. They've been very guarded, and with good reason.
yeah, which
And so
which surprises me why that they even sold the live action rights for to John Woo back in early 2000. That never
yeah,
happened.
yeah, it just depends. So, like I said, it depends on how Nintendo feels with how this movie performs. I do agree with you that it's very much going to set the tone for how Nintendo starts trusting studios with their IPs. But realistically, are we going to get a Metroid series when Metroid 4 releases? Probably not. We're probably going to see a Metroid animation series, a Zelda animation series, all of that stuff that we've been discussing. We probably won't see that kind of stuff for another 3 to 4 years at the earliest, I would say. And that's also because Nintendo is going to want to work with the company that's developing these. They're not that we've seen Nintendo being a lot more careful on how they lend out their IPs, and when they do lend them out, they want to know what's going on. And so the way that I see it is that Nintendo's going to want to work closely with them, and Nintendo might start doing, like I said, with what I had said with Fire Emblem, is that they might start using these animes, movies, or whatever to kind of set up their newest game. That technically could work really well for them, especially with Zelda and Metroid and Fire Emblem. Um, but it just depends on how comfortable Nintendo feels. But realistically, I don't see anything like this happening for another 3 years, earliest 4 to 5 years in reality,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, but this video was well just spitballing
No,
ideas.
definitely. Yeah, it's kind of giving some ideas and seeing on more or less, what Nintendo might be doing. Some ideas that Nintendo could use, and hopefully they do. Hopefully Nintendo kind of sees the potential in these ideas because I do believe there is potential there. I believe that people do want to see an anime Zelda. People do want to see, animation movie for Luigi's Mansion. People maybe want another Kirby cartoon. Like there's so many things that Nintendo can do with their IPs that I really hope that they don't just confine themselves to the video game space anymore. That they start
Yeah,
kind of branching out.
yeah. It's one thing to allow other companies to get use their IPs on other consoles. That's rather obvious, but it would be nice if they could open up to more adaptation than just the mangas. That, granted, is rather good, even if some of them are extremely dark and brutal. Looking at you, the Pokemon manga that is way darker than the games and anime are. I mean, we
Yeah, for
have.
sure.
Have you read those mangas?
No, no, I know that you shared some with me, but I've never personally like dabbled into them myself.
Yeah, I can. They're rather. Wait just a second. So, yeah, I just needed to check something, but I'm back. Uh, are you there, Adam?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
But yeah, we can just. I think we can talk for hours on how they would approach their their uh, adaptations for the video games. Even it would be even longer if we uh, cover them all. So I think
Yeah, for sure.
maybe we should stop the recording here because well,
I
we
agree
have
because we've been at it for a while.
yeah yeah. But anyway, where can uh, folks find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Anime Gaming Lift, and yeah, that's where you can find me for now.
Uh, yeah, weren't you talking about writing something for Wobam soon?
I was. So it just depends on my schedule. Actually, I was seeing if I might potentially do. I want to do a Tales of Arise review. Really want to. And Tales of Arise comes out September, so we shall see how that goes.
Yeah. And well, you can find me over at Wobamentertainment, where my review of Mario Golf Super Rush recently posted, and me and Brandon recently posted a start of a let's play for uh, I Love You Kentucky Fried. I Love You Colonel Sanders. Finger licking good. The KFC anime dating sim. And I do apologize for the hiccups with the video, but I didn't notice, and I don't know if Brandon noticed it either. But I have gone back and tried something out and see if it would work better. So next time we do an episode on it, it hopefully will work better that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was a lot of fun, and the dialogue is horrendous.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, we are thinking about maybe doing some more anime-related games if people want to, especially. But yeah, and we are. There are also more My Hero Academia upcoming, and when this has, hopefully, when this has published, there is going to be a Beastars review upcoming or released or upcoming, depending when I release this. But have a dozen, guys. Peace.